Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a full Power League guide for the brand new season. So if you've seen Power League just before the reset, it was actually condensed down to 4 game modes and 2 maps, but they actually completely reverted it, going back to 6 game modes and 3 maps per game mode. So we're going to be starting off with Backyard Bowls. As you can see on the screen, these are going to be your best picks. So with Backyard Bowl, you know, it can be very frustrating, especially just in Power League. It can be a lot of draws, and right now it's a very sharpshooter meta in my opinion, especially on the longer range maps. So you're actually going to get a lot more value out of the likes of Piper, you know, Nanny receiving a buff as well. Probably not the best on this type of map, but that as well. So in terms of first picks, Crow's still going to be essential. Stu's going to be so flexible all around. Byron's starting to creep into the really passive maps. He's a really good pocket brawler in a sense that you can allow your lane to push up, keep with the heals, and all you need is 3 taps with Byron, and then you can start to go on the aggressive because of course your super can go over the wall. So a lot of picks to really choose from. If I'm honest, nothing has really changed drastically. I would say Piper's probably more so of a middle pick, but overall I think Backyard Bowl has been pretty consistent for a long time now. Explorable map is field goals, so as you can see on the screen, these are going to be your best picks. So even though there was a lot of different buffs and a lot of changes in the meta, I don't think really there's a lot of big differences. I would say probably more so with the late picks. You know, late picks, we're talking about Bull being a pretty strong brawler with supercharge. We're seeing the likes of as well Buster starting to become a little bit better, but still I feel like just the meta brawlers on this map already probably overpower them too much. Like El Primo, for example, he's just probably a little bit of a better tank in comparison to the likes of Buster and Bull, just how things work. In terms of lane, again, nothing really changed. Bonnie still feels like a really strong brawler, especially since the gadget gear. She's one of the best because she can counter lanes pretty easily with that jump. But still, there's a lot of variety on this map, and of course be really careful of those later picks because Rosa and Bull are definitely brawlers you don't want to mess with. And lastly, for Brawl, we have Super Beach. So Super Beach reminds me of Field Goal in the fact that last pick is by far the better option on this one. It's really polarizing, and the fact that you can't ignore it in a sense. Like, you always got to think about Dynamite in the draft. You would always got to think about tanks as a late pick. So you've got to make sure you kind of got everything covered. You've got to make sure you've either got a wall break or at least something kind of aggressive or a tank count. You know, you've got to cover your bases a lot if you don't have the last pick. But there's a lot of great options, and of course the other thing that really changes from Field Goal to here is, you know, there's a couple more options in there. You can go with the likes of Ruffs, for example, to break open the walls, but still it's pretty much exactly the same. And, you know, I like it. I'm excited that Super Beach is back. So now moving on to Gem Grab, starting off with Double Swoosh. So you can see the best picks, first picks, sixth picks, and other picks as well. So, of course, it's just random gameplay in the background, by the way, I forgot to mention. Just because, of course, I haven't played the Power League season yet, so I wanted to get this video out just before it, so you guys know what are the best ones to go to grind that skin super early. So anyways, Double Swoosh. Again, I don't think too much has really changed. I think the appearance of Sandy is probably one that you might see a lot more, in my opinion, because Sandy can be a great counter to the likes of Tara, and you know, Sandy's quite flexible. You can actually play Sandy mid on this map. I'm seeing that a lot more. Other than that, just trying to look across the board, I mean, Rosa is definitely a threat. You can't just like first pick a Rosa, but if you have some clever bands like an Ems, for example, or Crow, then Rosa's going to be very dangerous. But again, I would say tanks aren't really used too often on Double Swoosh. There's just a lot of scouting capabilities within the draft. So for Gem Grab, we've got Hard Rock Mine. So Hard Rock Mine, of course, the staple of a Gem Grab, and you can see these are the best compositions on your screen. So of course, Shelly just running around the meta right now. I'd say that Rico has finally returned back to his former self in a little bit of a way since the 4th gadget gear. He's able to pop off a lot more, and he's actually starting to be more so of a first pick brawler again. So I definitely recommend Rico again, get that 4th gadget gear. You've got a lot of different options in the mid. Rosa is an absolute menace on this map. I think tanks more so than ever are so good on Hard Rock Mine right now because there's just so much chaos. You think of Rosa, for example, you can have the 4th gadget gear and just plant so many bushes, and then the best way to really respond to that, really, if you've not got a Shelly, is just buy more tanks yourself. I had so many drafts before the reset where there was just multiple tanks in a team, and it was just crazy. It was the most chaotic thing ever. So a lot of options to really pick with Hard Rock Mine. Lastly, for Gem Grab, we have Last Stop. So this one is more of a prediction, just because I haven't actually played it myself. This was just a map that's added to competitive, and it's actually never been in ladder, so how can anyone actually tell? I've looked at a few scrim results to kind of guess what they'll go in. I don't know what they banned, but these are some of the picks that they go with. So I think in terms in the middle, straight away, you see it's a nice open map. So the likes of Piper, Nanny, 8-Bit, any type of sharpshooter is going to be amazing on this map. You know, Piper's returning to the meta, and she actually hits really hard. It's hard to tell the exact numbers, of course, because they've been changed around, but Piper, literally as soon as she buffed, I noticed that she just hits so much harder. So for me, definitely one of the most go-to gem carries at the moment. In terms of the lanes, it's a little bit awkward. I still see some sharpshooters being used on the lane. You know, Eve can make use of the water down the left-hand side as well. There's a lot of different options. I guess we just got to try and test it out. So moving on to Heist, starting off with hot potatoes. So Heist, as you guys know, has been removed from the ladder pool. Basically, it's only available as a weekend event, which I'm not really happy about myself, but we still got it in Power League, so I guess you can see the meta right here. So in terms of the best first picks, hot potato, you guys should know. Again, I don't think much has really changed. There's a couple of good options that weren't really the best before, you know, like Brawl, for example. With Hypercharge, he's very strong in the Heist meta. And then even Rose, I think, is a sneaky, strong tank, especially if you use the Thorny Glove style power. She can just shred through even her fellow tanks, so that's one thing to notice. Rico is just even more dominant on this map as well. Spike with Hypercharge as well is just even better. Of course, he's still a little bit too squishy, so make sure those throws are banned if you want to use him. There's still a lot of versatile options to use. If anything, it's more base race than ever in hot potato. So for Heist, we have Kaboom Canyon. So these are going to be your best picks on the screen right here. So Kaboom Canyon's been in Power League for a little while now, and I would say that these definitely going to be the best picks in terms of the kind of meta and how it's evolved. I don't think anything's kind of pushed too much, I would say. You know, the introduction of, again, Bull starting to come back in the meta. Fang can be a good pick if the enemy has multiple sharpshooters. That's the only way I'd use Fang, because against fellow tanks and against certain compositions it can struggle, but against those you know, those squishy brawlers can get so much value out of his super. I think Nani and Piper are starting to come back to the Kaboom Canyon meta. Of course, I wouldn't just recommend picking them as a first pick because they still can get countered easily, but they're a great response if the enemy goes like a Brock, for example, or a Belle, or a Bonnie. Them sharpshooters are going to get destroyed by Nani and Piper, so a lot of choices to pick from. There's a few that have sneakily came back into the meta. And lastly for Heist, we have it Safe Zone. So you can see by the compositions on your screen right here, these are the best picks in terms of Safe Zone. I was actually struggling to really pick apart many brawlers on this map. I don't know why. Like, you can see that at the end, like, there's a lot of brawlers that are just like meh, but there's a lot of really strong options. Of course, like Belle, Bonnie and Piper are going to be pretty strong. You know, Nani, again, I definitely recommend trying out Piper and Nani yourselves. For me, they're really strong. You know, Nani can two-shot a lot of squishy brawlers right now, and Piper, just since the damage buff and also having 4 homemade recipes, makes her pretty strong. In terms of 6th pick, again, of course, tanks are going to be always strong as a 6th pick. So for me, always recommend at least having one brawler that can somewhat deal with aggression, whether even that's like a Belle, for example. She can still deal with some form of tanks if you can switch to a grounded star power. So of course, always with safe, so make sure you at least got a couple of sharpshooters, and always go for damage. Make sure you've got that Brock or 8-bit in your composition. Okay, so now jumping into the hot zone meta, starting off with Dueling Beetles. So again, hot zone has been removed from the ladder rotation, just like Heist, so I wasn't able to play ladder and kind of see whether the meta's changed too much, but in my opinion, this should be how it settles. So Crow, Shelly, and Stu, of course, still the #1 picks in terms of Dueling Beetles. See if likes to Belle, Poco, and Squeak as well. With the addition of the 4th gadget gear, all of these brawlers benefit off it a lot, especially in Dueling Beetles. You think about it. If you have 4 Squeak gadgets just constantly blocking you, you're going to be able to get a lot of percentage. So make sure to abuse that as much as possible. I don't think it'll get nerfed, but you get what I mean. Just abuse that gadget gear. In terms of other picks as well, Leon is starting to come back a little bit into the meta, in my opinion. I think people are underrating it. A little bit of the HP buff is going to allow him to pop off a lot more. Of course, that lollipop drop can be really strong on this map. Jesse, pretty underrated. Of course, again, you've got to watch out for Rosa. I always went Rosa last season and caught people off guard, so that could be a sneaky pick. And you know what? Colt, even as a sneaky late pick on this map, can be good to break open the map. And if you're a good Colt, you can definitely pop off with that hypercharge. Next up for Hot Zone, we have Ring of Fire. So you can see the best picks right here. So again, I don't think too much is going to be changing it on Ring of Fire for now. But again, this is more so of a prediction. So if I get anything wrong, I'll probably do another video like this in like 2-3 weeks time. But in terms of the good options, in terms of first picks, again, you've got to go something pretty safe in Ring of Fire that can control the middle pretty well. With Ring of Fire, always recommend going 2 brawlers in the middle, and then just that 3rd brawler either trying to sneak in behind them or making sure that the enemies aren't getting into your grass. So that's why there's a lot of I would say just kind of chip brawlers, likes of Grey, even pretty chip brawler B can be pretty good to shut down. A lot of options on Ring of Fire. But of course, make sure you at least got one brawler that can stay on the zone for a long time. Finally, for Hot Zone, we have Split. So Split is back in the rotation. A lot of pros don't like this map. I kind of like it because it offers a little bit of variety, but at the same time, of course, it's just so many walls. So, of course, the best first picks, I don't think these ever change, to be honest, in Split. Stu, Shelly, and Grey are going to be the best options for sure. Stu with Breakthrough, Grey with 4 Walking Canes is so strong. Shelly, of course, is Shelly. And you've also got Ruffs who's just able to defend the right zone or even go left zone and break open them up the way he wants to. Rico now with the addition of the gadget gear as well can be really good for defense. And he's always been good down that right-hand side. And throws can be pretty dangerous as well, as long as you've got some type of backup, because, you know, the opponents could easily pull out like an Edgar or a tank, where throwers, of course, will struggle. But overall, I think if you have a pretty balanced composition, you should be able to make it work really strong. So, again, you got to be careful of the later picks. That's where people start to bring out their Primos, the Franks, the Bulls. Even Buster in his meta is pretty strong. So, a lot of options on Split, but making sure you've got that really powerful defensive brawler. So now we're moving on to Knockout, starting with Bell's Rock. So Bell's Rock, I would say from my experience playing it just before the reset, it has changed a little bit. The Knockout meta, I would say you'd always kind of consider snipers as like a counter pick, but I would say just straight up, just pick Nani, Piper. They hit so hard, they counter so many of the long range brawlers now, and I feel like if the opponent doesn't have the shield gear, which is actually got indirectly nerfed through the changes, they just hit even harder. They're not able to change that interactions the way it used to. So Piper and Nani, they're going to hit a lot harder. Of course, you got the likes of Jean is just strong overall. Grey's just a better version of Jean, if anything, I would say, because he can counter those throws a lot harder, especially with Walking Cane. And now with Knockout, the 4th gadget gear is even more important, because, of course, Knockout can end pretty quickly. So utilizing 4 really strong gadgets can win you the game pretty good. So that's why Cookie Popper, that can be really strong. Walking Cane, Homemade Recipe, we're talking Sugar Rush as well. There's a lot of gadgets right here throughout these brawlers that you'll be able to utilize really well with that gear. So jumping into the next map, we have Goldarm Gulch. So I think there's been a rotation for a very long time now. I don't think the meta's going to shift too much, except for Fang. Fang is very dangerous in Knockout right now, so definitely be careful of it. It's not even like a good 6th pick. You could pretty easily pick it in terms of like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Just don't first pick it, because of course it can get countered out by multiple, like Otis and Shelly, for example. But a lot of stronger options here. I think there's only maybe like a couple of changes, to be honest. Again, I think the sharpshooters are just a lot more dominant. Even Mandy with their buff recently, so watch out for those 3 sharpshooters. Make sure that you're definitely banning Piper. I would say that is the one that I would worry about the most. There's a lot of flexibility on this map. Moving on to the final Knockout map, we have Out in the Open. So it has returned. This is actually one of my favorite Knockout maps, just because of how well sharpshooters used to do. And boy, do they hit hard on this map now. So again, the best first picks are going to be Piper and Nani. Normally, again, there would be like counter pick options, but you got to pick them. They're able to confirm kills so easily. I know Nani peeps actually don't hit as hard anymore, again, because the star power didn't actually get buffed as well. But still, just a normal shot with Nani hits so incredibly hard right now. Eve, of course, really good going across the water. Brock being able to open up that back end to allow you 2 different ways really to move out of spawn. It's really going to help you not get spawn trapped. Jean's able to scout the mid bushes with the vision gear really well, and again, there's just a lot of sharpshooter options, so be careful of those sharpshooters. They're going to hit really hard. Now moving on to the final game mode, we have Wipeout, and the first map, Infinite Doom. So you can see by the picks on your screen, Infinite Doom again, I would say hasn't really changed the most, but sharpshooters will probably be starting to arise a lot more. So in terms of Wipeout then, so Wipeout is essentially Bounty. It lasts a minute longer. It's probably a little bit more fair than Bounty, but in my playing experience, I hated it just because it lasted 3 minutes and you could draw. So it's just a really frustrating experience in my opinion. If they get some good changes, it could make Wipeout a lot better, but to me, it's just Bounty, but worse essentially. But the same type of picks really. I'd say in terms of the things that have really changed is that 6th pick again. You could probably go Fang, Bull. I wouldn't be first picking them though, because they can get countered pretty easily still by the likes of like Tara, Ems. All of these brawlers are still pretty strong. overall. So Infinite Doom is a lot about vision and just getting control of that grass. On to the next map, we have Layer Bake. So I thought this map was just Layer Cake, but just renamed. But no, it's actually just Layer Bake, which is a brand new map, which again, I haven't had a chance to play. And this is more so a prediction of the meta, but you can kind of see, I reckon there will be a few sneaky strategies. That's why I included Rosa in there, because I feel like if they don't have a wall break or something to destroy the grass, you know, a couple of gadgets can really make things messy. So maybe even a couple of tanks could be pretty strong on this map. There are a lot of walls, to be honest. There's a lot of strategies which I'm sure will arise, but in terms of what I think is going to be good, you know, a thrower could probably be good down the right-hand side or even down the left-hand side behind the amount of walls there are. Grey is going to be very strong in this map, I believe. I think last pick assassins are going to be insane on here. I just think the Wipeout and the knockout meta, well, especially the Wipeout, it's going to change a lot, basically, because assassins are becoming a lot stronger. Mortis recently with a buff, Fang with a buff, and also just a lot more, you know, tanks. So be careful of those later picks, because sharpshooters, they get destroyed by assassins. And moving on to the final map, we have Shooting Stars. So again, it's just literally bounty shooting star, but it lasts 3 minutes long, so you've got to bear that in mind. It's going to be really frustrating gameplay a lot of times, so make sure you got your sharpshooter pants on, because that's just how the game is going to go. So in terms of what has changed in this meta, again, the only thing I really noticed when I played a couple of games of Shooting Star beforehand was the fact that Mandy, Nani, and Piper hit a lot harder than expected, and then also Fang was really annoying to face off against if I actually ended up with a sharpshooter on my team. So got to bear that in mind. That's why you see like RT was a pretty good middle ground on this map, in my opinion, because he can deal with aggression and he can deal with snipers as well, as long as you've got good accuracy. There's a lot of other good picks as well, to be honest, but you guys know how Shooting Star is. So let me know what you think of all of my guides in the comment section below. But again, I don't completely, like, I can't just walk through the draft for you. There's a lot of things that are going to go on in draft which I don't have control over. You might not have control over, you know, your teammate might go a dumb pick. But I think the best way to really learn from, learn to draft better in a sense, is by watching pro gameplay, watching people stream it, watching people play it, and of course playing a lot of it yourself. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.